and you mentioned, Beat the Streets programs, 27 employees. When the wrestling community hears and thinks of Beat the Streets, I think they typically think of Beat the Streets in New York City, right? They're the longest standing Beat the Streets club. But what can you tell us about your role as national director for Beat the Streets and what that looks like, Jeff?
Yeah, so I guess let's start with the metrics, right? Because in the nonprofit world, that's what you're supposed to do. So we've got 400 coaches that we support, meaning we pay their salary, or we've got a school to pay their salary. We have 200, and I believe it was 253 program after school or community sites that we have across the country in 9 cities. We've got 3 programs as applicants right now, so about to be 12 by the end of the year. 27 full-time staff, which means they have a full-time career in wrestling. Salary, benefits, 2 or 3 in each city. New York has 7 or 8 because they're the largest service size. And then we've got a couple of hundred kids that have gone on to college out of Beat the Streets programs. We just got data back that we're able to have behavior. Kids are improving their. When you get in trouble in school, you get a behavior referral. We've got direct correlation with when kids are in wrestling season with us. They're reducing their number of times they're getting suspended, they're getting tardies, they're getting absences. And so the reason I bring that up is this signature event, right? I go to programs in the Midwest and I say, hey, I work for Beat the Streets. Like, I love your event. Oh, wait a second. I love that event too. But we're not at that event. That event is a charity match that raises money for our programs in New York City. That event is a charity match that raises visibility and money to have, 3,000 kids have access to the sport in New York City. New York City had 23 wrestling programs through the MWA when Beat the Streets was founded in 2006. This year, there will be 185 programs. 150 of them are directly supported through Beat the Streets. About 30 of them have happened organically because the sport's growing in the city. This year, the public school athletic league will pick up the second half of $1 million budget to run that program exclusively on their own without the support of Beat the Streets. That's the ultimate sustainability. Now, when we can take that model and we can scale it to other cities, it was taken to Philadelphia, Detroit, Chicago. Now this year we've taken it to Oakland, to Cleveland. And so in Oakland, Bay Area includes the entire Bay Area region. And so now we're looking at expanding support in Baltimore. This year, Boston Youth Wrestling came on board. So when you've got this model, you have 10 years of experience of it, and it's refined, you can scale it. Now, there are things we're always improving upon, but that impact, I think, that you're so aware of in New York City is going to continue to spread. We'll stick to only having 2 signature events, the LA benefit and the New York benefit. But what's happening every day is really what Beat the Streets is, right? The visibility of that event, in the nonprofit world, they say like to have a signature event that's bigger than your cause is actually a good problem to have. It's a marketing problem. And so the solution is stuff like this, where we're getting out and saying, like, telling the stories of what we're doing every day to solve that good signature event problem.
Yeah, no, that's awesome what you explain, right? It's not just an event, even though that maybe the wrestling community views it as such. I mean, certainly that's maybe the vehicle that it gets exposed to the wrestling community. So when you meant, what's that?
Yeah, I was going to say, and I don't think I answered the second half of your question, but go ahead.
Yeah, what is your role then?
Yeah,
tell everybody what your role is, right?
Yeah, I like to be. I told you I was going to be myself and be a little fun on this. So I got a friend, Dan McCune, and he runs Sunnyvale Youth Wrestling League. And he's now the executive director at Beat the Streets Bay Area and pushing the growth of the sport in Oakland, which they'll have 5 programs this year, 5 middle school programs. They had 0 2 years ago. They cut high school wrestling 2.5 years ago, right? So Dan, keep kicking butt. Dan says my role is to be the Johnny Appleseed of wrestling, and to go around and to spread the sport, to plant a little seed, to water that seed, to nurture it, and have it grow into a fully sustained community around the sport. And that's exactly what I do. And so I'm really lucky, like you, to get to spend a lot of time talking to people across the country and on airplanes, traveling around to do this stuff, which will segue into the van, I guess. But and so Ray Brenzer, same thing. We talk about this all the time. Ray's a huge mentor of mine, good friend. So when you think about, let's talk about a single city, right? So Johnny Appleseed of wrestling. So to go to Oakland and to talk to Dan, to talk to Bobby, I'm going to forget his last name, to talk to Jason Welch, to talk to Chris Vedder, to figure out exactly what the wrestling landscape is in Oakland and in the Bay Area, and what the political pieces of that are, and where the support's coming in and where it's not coming in, and where it could be accessed. Right, that's kind of like market research if it's private business. And so we're figuring out what the key players in the community are. We're bringing them together to collectively say, hey, how can we make this better? You build the infrastructure around that, and then you put a multi-year plan together to roll that out as wrestling programs. Right? Okay, we got to pursue with Oakland first. We've got a relationship here. San Jose will be in 3 years. The reason we're going to do that, all right, let's start developing that relationship now. And then we bring the community together to support that and execute that plan. But the community comes together organically, right? You get guys like Larry Kane, who's the board chair there. He's a partner at Oric, which is a major legal firm across the country. Larry has been dynamite. Got a ton of board experience. He's the right guy to be leading the organization at the board. He's brought in Nancy Schultz. He's brought in Lee Kemp. He's brought in a bunch of wrestling people. Travis Lee is on the board now. And so you get a bunch of individuals that are passionate about wrestling, but also have skills that can really benefit the organization, right? And really benefit, by organization, I mean the community, right? This is a community grassroots movement. So my job as Johnny Appleseed is just to plant the seed, see where the right soil is, put it together, and then kind of nurture it and grow. And if you have a bad year where there's not a lot of water, all right, hey, let's go in, let's help this thing out a little bit, and let's try to keep it growing. And then one day that tree will plant its own seeds, right? Because those apples will fall down like they have in New York City, where the PSAL is picking up these programs. And those trees are growing on their own now without Johnny Appleseed needing to spread this stuff. So that's the role of the person, of my job and the person in my role. It'll transition this year a little bit. It'll transition less from planting some more seeds and supporting the growth of the existing programs, to building in bigger partnerships and doing some resource development for us, seeing how we can add value for corporate partners, seeing how we can add value for, like you guys have added a ton of value for us, right? Like you guys are our first partner. I would say our number one partner right now has been USA Wrestling. And the only reason that we're able to do what we're doing nationally is because of what you pushed forward, Tony, and what Rich supported with the Beat the Streets programs.
Yeah, no, thanks. And great analogy about Johnny Appleseed. I think eventually you and I we'll be able to compare notes about kids in school. I just wonder, I don't even know if they tell the story about Johnny Appleseed anymore. If not, I sure hope that it's in existence in a couple of years, right? When we're in that role. But yeah, no, that's a great way of saying it.